We're sitting here talking with Representative Monique Priestley from Vermont. Representative Priestley, first, can you tell us a little bit about your district? Is it Bradford, Vermont?
Yeah, so Bradford, so I live in Bradford, and then I represent Bradford Fairleigh and West Fairleigh. So three really small, kind of like rural towns on the New Hampshire border. Yeah, like 20 minutes north of Dartmouth. And
Well, tell us a little bit about what sparked your interest in digital and online safety issues.
yeah, like I said, I did a lot of volunteering. That was like part of my free time. But then my career has always been tech. So from like a super young age, 8 or so, like taking apart computers, building websites. And then in high school, I wired my high school for Ethernet and all the computers, like the first network that we had. And then that continued to do like network support, database administration, web development, software application, product management, and integrations, and data migration, and all kinds of stuff.
Great.
Um,
So,
yeah.
and then this past year, you were instrumental in passing the Vermont Kids Code law. This is an age-appropriate design code measure that implements safety measures for minors in digital services. Can you give us just a brief overview of what the bill actually does?
Yeah. Yeah. So generally, I mean, the bill and the way that it differs from some of the other age appropriate design codes is that it really doesn't focus at all on content, and it really focuses on product liability and product safety. And so in the same way that we regulate cars and other physical kind of like products, trying to make sure that we have safe digital products as well.
Yep.
So yeah, the reason why we didn't focus on content is really because that runs into freedom of speech concerns, and then also like there's basically a lot of like issues when we start getting into Section 230, and who's liable for what, and that often is content based, and also like I said, interruption of freedom of speech. And so basically any of the bills in the United States that focus on content end up getting challenged in court by software companies. But it's much harder to challenge something that is inherently designed to be addictive, and manipulative, and basically unsafe. It's harder to make the case for the actual features themselves being unsafe versus the content that users put into it.
Right, right. What were some of the concerns that some of your colleagues had about the bill initially, and how did you address those concerns?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I mean, the kids' issues is one where generally everybody, I also tried, we've been working on a data privacy bill, and that is one where that is generally very heavily lobbied. And so, it gets everybody worked up. And in the name of like business and innovation, when it comes to a kids' bill, the lobbies aren't very public because it's a bad look for business to basically admit that they're hurting kids and that's somehow good for business or innovation. And so that means that we don't see as much pressure on our colleagues either. And so generally, if something is in the name of protecting kids, people want to pass it no matter what it is,
Yeah,
which has a whole different complication to it to make sure that we are passing something that's responsible and that people are actually paying attention.
great. I want to dive briefly into the word design in the title of the bill. You've spoken previously a little bit about how measures like this can offer businesses the opportunity to build safer products and platforms. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's things like, it's basically going after the harms that we were seeing perpetuated against kids, and then trying to make sure that we're looking at the design of those features and trying to stop those. So one, for instance, is endless scroll of a kid spending hours and hours and hours just like swiping through content, and so in order to address that, the design feature is going after that endless scroll functionality. Another feature was things like being served up content that might be uh, trying to get somebody to commit suicide, or that uh, addresses kind of like eating disorder type stuff, like encourages eating disorders. So it's trying the design feature there is trying to go after how the algorithm serves up things, how that works, and then things like unknown adults contacting kids to sell them drugs or to rape them or kidnap them or sextortion. And so the feature there is making it so that kids have the choice of like who contacts them and they're approved. So there's lots of things like that. In addition to like privacy, really strict privacy protections, determining what data is vulnerable and shared from kids.
Right, right. What when you were moving this bill through the legislature, what was particularly helpful in terms of gathering support? Were there local organizations or parents, or who was coming out to back this bill?
Yeah, so this is so in general there's a lot of mix. So really amazing parent groups for sure, all over the state. This was a bill that the like medical societies tended to get behind.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and then also like public education, like NEA, that kind of stuff. So that was helpful. Again, since big tech, it's not a good look for them to lobby against the kids bill. They didn't kind of wrangle up small businesses in the way that they do for privacy. So there wasn't a lot of opposition to really fight publicly. And then also we just had like really great support from like Electronic Privacy Information Center and other kind of like national consumer protection orgs. Yeah.
Great, great. And so you were able to move the bill through the legislature, but then, as with any bill in any state, you have to get it signed by the governor. How were you able to engage the governor on this issue?
Yeah, this was an interesting one because I never imagined he was going to sign it because of everything, the drama that happened around the privacy bill. And we had private right of action in there that meant that like if a kid is harmed, a parent can sue directly rather than having to go through the attorney general. And so we referenced our underlying Consumer Protection Act from the 60s. So that gives people that under like product liability gives people the rights to sue a company. And I thought that that would be, I wasn't sure that that would pass because of it. But really what it came down to is like, this was a super bipartisan issue and a lot of Republicans. The governor's a Republican. My chair or my committee's chair is a Republican, and there was a lot of avid Republican support in addition to the parents and things saying that like we have to do everything we can to protect kids. So that was really helpful.
You're co-chair of the Future Caucus AI Policy Task Force, serving with Republican Doug Fiafia of Utah. And tell us a little bit what do you hope to accomplish there?
Yeah, yeah. So it's that is probably one of my favorite projects right now. Working with Doug, we could not be more different in all of the ways. But what we come together on is wanting to both have regulation and innovation and pro business, but also have safety for our consumers and health, basically, and mental health and protections, and also just like strong supports for businesses. And so that has been really great. We have a group of 12 people with us included. And really, we're going to have our first meeting in January where we actually start to dive in. But we're working on a kind of a overall primer, like educational piece for not only our task force, but legislators, Gen Z and millennial legislators all over the country, trying to make it extremely bipartisan and working make sure we're hearing from a wide variety of stakeholders on that. And then also, I mean, a recent thing is that with things like the executive order and information that legislators are now needing to juggle, we're also talking through things that come up like that, and then how do we work together around messaging and education of our fellow colleagues.
Great. Well, Representative Monique Priestley, thank you for talking with us, and look forward to seeing what happens in the coming session.
All right, thanks so much, Bruce.